difficult is it? What do you have to concentrate on?
I mean, really the same things. I mean, fundamentals. Um, anything that's been negative, um, as far as just any play, if you look at it, it's really been a fundamental. Okay, so there's no reason to go reinvent the wheel. It's just focus on what we do and our fundamentals, and go play.
Your thoughts on Bartlett's performance, and Neil mentioned too that some of that was a product of the rush you were getting up the middle, keeping the pocket where it was so he could get to the on the edge. What did you see from him that you liked?
Well, it's Bartlett. Jared has grown so much in the last year as a player, and a lot of that is he come to the sideline. It was first quarter, early second quarter. And he said, "Coach, I'm mismatched with these guys on the edge." So I trust him and put him out there, and it's pretty easy to see a lot of times how guys protect us because of the interior. And so when that happens, he took full advantage of it. And I've always told him, his advantage is speed, and he has to use that. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but that's okay. He and I think he kind of figured that out and had a great game.
You cover up behind him. Is that what you have to do when you say, "Okay, Jared, go"? You have to protect, or you put him on the boundary. What do you do there to?
I mean, you just find the tendency, find where the protection tendencies are. Maybe it's formation based, maybe it's field boundary based. You just have to. Those are things you adjust throughout the game. So for him, it was off both edges, and we had our different ways to do that. But it was pretty simple. Just let him go.
You had some great pass rushers at Troy in your day. Are pass rushers born or made or combination or?
It's a combination, but I would lean a lot of times toward made. It's really kind of when you watch a kid, there's always a knack for that. It's almost like watching, to me, a lot of times like watching a really good basketball player. Especially at a big point guard or a forward, just their natural movements through the paint. Some of that is really natural. I take Akeem, for example. First time we saw him, he had no clue what he was doing, and a lot of it was just, reacting to what the guy's doing in front of him in a one-on-one situation, and a lot of that is just natural athletic ability and natural reaction, which is pretty simply what pass rushing is. It's a reaction to what happens in front of you. Now once you figure out what a guy's good at, how he has to learn to react to different things. So I think that's the part that you get to the teaching side of things, where hey, this is what you're good at. Now let's expand on that and find out how we can add to that toolbox, whatever you want to call it.
You talk about figuring out what a guy's good at. You get a kid like Matthews, who seems to be good at an awful lot of different things. How do you figure out how to use them without confusing them from?
Well, the best thing, Jackie, is the best thing he does is find the ball. So that's really a natural deal a lot of times too. There's really good athletes and there's really good ball players, and if you find a combination of both, you really got something. And Jackie's a combination, a little bit of both. He's a great athlete, runs well, has good length, good size. But Jackie finds the football, and usually has the right intentions when he gets to the ball, and so which is why we recruited Jackie. But his just moving him around on the field, something he enjoys. It helps him. I think it fits his skill set. And then put him in a position a lot of times where we're being how people are trying to attack us. We have that flexibility to move him to those areas, in which benefits us, benefits him.
What he made on the goal line? How good a play was that?
Which one?
The goal line pass breakup.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Coach Brown talks about strain. We talk about effort plays. It's one of our non-negotiables. You're not going to find a better effort play. The kid's beat. catches up in a key situation and forces the guy out of bounds. There's nothing. There's no better, not just particularly that one, but that type of effort play. There's nothing. Those are the plays that win you games, not what I draw on a board or anybody draws on a board. It's those types of plays made by those types of players, and that was a big time play. And I'll throw this in there too. On the same play that the ball didn't find him, but just as good a play of that was Lance Dixon finding another guy's responsibility in that coverage and retracing to get that guy's guy, and then Jackie had to break it behind him. Not a lot of people saw Lance on that play. Lance is the one that really saved the touchdown. Jackie forced the ball. If Lance doesn't see the guy coming back, we're in trouble. And so there's two players in that right there that really kind of saved that play.
Along those lines, what makes a good red zone defense? Because you guys were clearly good on Saturday.
I mean,
Assignments?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of everything. It's just knowing where you are. It's the awareness of where you are. That line is what gets you beat. There's I don't believe, yards per game. I mean, whatever. But when the ball does not cross that line, you have a chance. And we probably work that in the spring ball. Talk about it. That's red zone defense, scoring defense, however you want to look at it, has always been one of the biggest stats to me. It's one of my top three: rushing defense, turnover margin, and scoring defense. If I look at just a defense on paper, that's what sticks out to me. And so to have that philosophy, that's something that you talk about every day. And I think that's one of the big positives with this group is we've had some negative things happen in 3 games, some big plays with whether it's communication issues that we got to fix, obviously, but they never. I think the thing with this group is they haven't blinked. We've had some big touchdowns on miscommunication, but in those situations, especially the one in the game, they have not blinked. And going back to Maryland, the turnovers and whatever it may be, and so I think that comes back to that to preaching about that line, the goal line. As long as it doesn't get to there, we're okay. And so that's the kids have really that's their mentality.
Jordan, you mentioned among those 3 keys, turnover margin, and one thing your defense hasn't really done yet is create a lot of turnover. So can you develop that? Is that just organic?
No, I mean you have to. It can be both, but you have to work on it. You have to find different ways that don't get redundant and boring to work on it, which sometimes it's hard because there's only so many drills you can do, and but we have to do a better job. We have to do a better job of getting our hands up in the line of scrimmage, affecting throws. We have to do a better job of getting our hands on the football in the run game. We have to do a better job of trying to get the ball out in gang tackling situations. And it's really just something that we have not done a good job of, and that's as simple as it is. We've got to do better.
You've had 8 quarters against 2 really good quarterbacks. Is that enough for what you're going to face Saturday with Rattler?
It's
kind of a different deal with
yeah, it's a little bit different, but a guy like him, he's has all the attention and well deserved. He's a really good player. So, does it help you prepare? Yeah, but every quarterback's a little bit different. They have their different strengths. Burmeister was really fast. The kid at Maryland was really elusive and then throw the ball well, elusive and are on the move, and then Spencer's good all the way around. So
in that respect, would Spencer be similar to the Maryland guy in that he's going to scramble to throw?
Yeah, he is. He's
eyes are down the field?
yes, his eyes are down the field a lot.
Jordan, can offenses be more predictable in that red zone than anywhere else in the field? And then can that be like fool's gold a little bit for defense when you do compare it?
I don't know if they're necessarily predictable. I think that's a zone, and every week that you see a different formation or a different wrinkle. The thing that happens that you, and it's the same reason that yards, I don't really put a whole lot of stock in the total yards, is the field shrinks. So you have to use that to your advantage. But I don't think that, there are some predictabilities, but everybody, just like any other situation, whether it's third down, drive starter, coming off, middle of the field, whatever it is, everybody has their tendencies. But everybody also has their wrinkles week to week. So I'm sure we'll see some this week.
Conversely, without giving away the idea there, are you defensively the same? Like, you have maybe you add a wrinkle in every week so you can't be in the crosshairs?
I'm usually the same till I see something that forces you not to be.
In the modern game, I asked Jared this, I'll ask you this too, from a defensive perspective. Every time Virginia Tech was in the red zone, they were in the gun. So if it's first and goal with the 2, you're really first and goal with the 4 or the 5, right? Where the quarterback lines up. Is that an advantage for defense? And everybody does this. Everybody's in the gun now. Is that an advantage for defensive coaches?
I mean,
it eliminates some of the things they can do, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just depends on how the offense is set up. From their perspective, the way I see it is, if you're going to be a shotgun team, then how much time are you spending with the techniques under center? And then you lose, that the gun and the option and the RPOs, that all ties together. Like how the mesh point of the quarterback and the running back ties in with the routes in those scenarios. So if you lose that ability. So the same plays that you see on medium downs or first downs to get something going off of those different RPOs, those run plays, how that formation sets up determine where that other option is. So so if you're under the center, that's a totally different set of run pass options, straight back play action. So honestly, I don't really know that it's an advantage for us because the action is so much different at the second, third levels, depending on what you're keying. An RPO is you have a mesh, if how he opens or how that run play setting up determines what routes are behind it. So under the center, it's a totally different because you don't really have a set key. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but
it just seems counterintuitive that you've got a short amount of distance to go and you make it longer by lining up that way.
Well, it depends on the quarterback too. You know what I'm saying? Like if you got a pro style doing that, it's a different set of plays. If you got a runner doing that, then it's a different set of play and pass option off of that. You think about it. If you're looking at it in a pass scenario, you think about when a quarterback takes his drop under center, he's still going 1, 2, 3 to hand the ball off. So he's still getting depth as he takes a snap, unless he's going to sneak it every time. He's not going to do that. So he's still got to get depth to the running back, and he's still got to get depth at his pass drop. So he's still the same amount of distance from the line of scrimmage that he would be in the gun. So it's really not, that's just two different styles of offense.
Modern football.
Yeah.
How do you prepare for somebody of Spencer Rattler's caliber? How do you prepare for that?
You just no different than you would any other offense. You have to figure out. You have to figure out how you can get a guy off schedule. That's the only thing you can do. There's how you do that. Well, that depends on how what you see on film. We obviously know how the talent that the kid is. Our players respect it. They're not. They watch college football just like we do. So it's no surprise how good he is. You go through and you figure out where his strengths are. You know that. And then you have to figure out where his weaknesses are. There's not a lot there's not many. So it's a big challenge.
You got them into a couple really third and long situations last week that they converted in the second half. Was it communication or what was?
One was fundamentals. One was just a straight up misassignment. Guy tried to make a play and his guy leaks out, and after that was poor fundamentals. And then the other one was straight up poor fundamentals. I mean, it's no other way to put it. I mean, you got guys around the ball, get him down, and we didn't do that.
During their H-backs, tight ends, pretty interesting weapon, what they've used through the years. I don't know how much you studied last year, but same things that you see that they typically do with Stockner and Hall and those guys.
Yeah, it's very similar. I mean, they use them. They use them as receivers. They use them as blockers. You know, they use them as pullers. I mean, they're kind of their H-backs, tight ends are really the same position. They really do a little bit of everything.
They got good players across the board, but there is one oddity. You only have 2 scholarship running backs, which, if you look at Oklahoma, they were always, every year you played them, they had 5 or 6. Is it showing up at all on tape?
They're showing up that they're good. 2, 4, and 1. I mean, they're both good players, and I'm sure program of that caliber, even if there's a walk-on as a third one, I'm sure he's a pretty good player, top to bottom. So that's not.
What did Nebraska do from studying Oklahoma's offense that was so effective against Oklahoma's offense?
I think Nebraska just lined up and played hard. Honestly, I mean, I think if you really watch it, that's a lot. To me, it was very similar to the game we just played, to where there's a lot of players that have ties. I just remember that from growing up and the old Big 12 and Big 8. I think there are a lot of players, even though they're young, they don't really know a lot about it. They have ties, or their family has ties to people that do. So you have a chance to rekindle that rivalry, a lot like the one we just played, to where the players have a lot of connections. So it kind of gets built up, but the fans and the players' parents that have those connections, they remember what it was, and so it becomes the rivalry just automatically gets restarted in a week. And I think you see a lot of that with the Nebraska-Oklahoma game, going back to all those old Big 8 games and Big 12 games.